Hi, it's Rich Tehrani. We're in the TMC newsroom today. Thank you for watching. I'm at Interop 2010 in Las Vegas. On our program today is Dr. Kristof Kloeckner with IBM. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Great. Thanks for being on the program. So your area at IBM is cloud computing.
Yes, I'm the Chief Technology Officer for our cloud computing unit, which was formed about a year and a half ago by Sam Palmisano when he decided that IBM needed to focus company-wide on the impact of cloud computing on, well, IT service delivery. And because that's obviously a major business that we are in.
Absolutely. And so have you been there for the full year and a half?
Yes, I've been there since the inception of the unit. Before that, I was the Chief Technology Officer for Software Group. So my business is really integration software. And that's actually what makes it quite interesting. I was one of the people that drove service-oriented architectures within IBM. And what we did then was really put a business perspective on the integration of application.
Right.
What we are doing now is putting a business perspective on the delivery of applications.
Sure.
Right. So what we are really dealing with in cloud computing is transforming the way that IT services are delivered and consumed.
So what changes have you seen from what you were doing before to now in the cloud? What are some of the differences that are interesting to you?
Well, what is really interesting for me is the business potential of what is happening here and the way it changes the relationship even within an enterprise between the IT department and its users. Really what cloud computing is all about and why people get very excited is that it really tries to map the consumption patterns, the expectations that people have from the consumer internet to the larger scope of IT services. So, instant access, self-service access to IT resources, flexible access, elastic resources, not having to know whether you will ever run out of resources, paying for it in a flexible way, even if the payment is just internal. So on the one hand, it empowers the end user because it gives them access to a catalog of services. On the other hand, it's also very empowering for the IT department because they get a better handle on the actual cost of delivery. They get a chance to standardize the set of services that they offer and thus to concentrate on what really matters.
Right.
And that's what's getting my customers excited. It's not just, it is also, but not just a combination of interesting technologies like virtualization, like service management. It is really a way to transform the IT department and its relationship to the business. And I've had CIOs say to me they view cloud computing as a continuation of what we started with service-oriented architectures, of transforming their shop from the traditional way of, we build it, we own it, we run it, to we provide solutions, whether we do it ourselves in the traditional way, or whether we get it from a service provider like Amazon, like IBM, or like Salesforce.
So I've been interviewing probably in the last week 20 companies that work in the cloud space. And the majority of them believe that almost everything is going in the cloud. Some companies believe that there needs to be a tight synergy between the premise equipment and the equipment in the cloud. Do you believe then that is going to be the future model, or do you think that everything will migrate to the cloud?
Well, first of all, we very early made the point that there will be many shapes of clouds and that cloud deployments will happen both on a dedicated basis within the enterprise, in a shared basis between a community of cloud users, and in a fully public place. And customers will make choices based on what is appropriate for their workload. So if you have a highly regulated set of data where you basically get shot if it gets into anybody else's hands? Would you really put it in an environment that you do not have absolute control over? Perhaps in time you will if you trust your service provider, but that's a long way ahead. What we find is that there are many low-hanging fruit. Take test and development environments, very badly managed,
Sure.
very inflexible, but on the other hand, more and more important to have instant access,
Sure.
dynamic provisioning as you develop in a much more agile fashion. Low-hanging fruit.
Sure.
Another low-hanging fruit is collaboration.
Right.
Collaboration is about networking people. So they, in a sense, they are in the cloud already.
Right.
So why not put their resources in the cloud?
Sure.
Right? So collaboration is a big pattern. Analytics, sharing data, getting more insight by actually pooling data. That is something that we find as an emerging pattern for industry clouds. So people sometimes forget that you deliver services at various levels. At the bottom, you deliver infrastructure services, you deliver application or middleware services, but you actually deliver also services that are already business services. So in our IBM IT organization, one of the biggest clouds that we have is actually a cloud supporting up to 200,000 IBM sellers with analytics information. So basically we pool information from more than 100 data sources, we provide a web interface, we provide a service catalog, and we greatly improve the level of information and insight that people can apply in their direct work. So sometimes people seem to believe that cloud is really about finding the cheapest possible way of delivering IT services, but it's also about accelerating access to innovation, access to technology. It's a very interesting interplay between the central disciplined service managed delivery and the convenience and empowerment for the end user. That's what makes it exciting, and that's what makes CIOs and business leaders excited about cloud computing.
Well, thank you so much for being on the program. It's been fascinating learning about what you're doing, and it was a pleasure meeting you today.
Yeah,
thank you.
pleasure's mine. Thank you.